Hey, welcome to the Becklands traditional Lefse day. We're going to go through kind of a step-by-step what is expected of the recipe and how to do it so then we can remember for future generations. This is pretty much handed down through all the Norwegians' history making Lefse. So we're going to start with the recipe.
Okay, we need 12 cups of riced potatoes, 2 teaspoons of salt, a 1/4 cup of corn oil, and we use butter for ours, and 4 cups of flour. Then the process: cook and rice the potatoes, then let it cool, measure 12 cups of potatoes and all of the remaining ingredients, knead it all together, divide it into a 1/2 cup size balls, roll out on floured board, bake on both sides, and make 6 pounds. And this is the order of what we add. It's 5 large potatoes, then 2 cups of flour, a 1/4 cup of butter, and then 1/2 a teaspoon of salt. And that makes about 16 rounds or 14 inches of a worm.
Traditional tools of the trade. We have 2 examples of Lefse turners. You can see artwork at the top, which is called rosemalling, which is kind of a traditional Norwegian art. And these are Lefse rolling pins that we will use to roll out the dough. Lefse turners are not swords.
I'm going to show you some more tools of the trade here. The first and most important is the potato. About this size is the kind that we use. Then there's the potato ricer that we put the cooked potatoes into. And then potatoes look something like this. Actually exactly like this. We then put flour over all of that, butter, salt, put it all in here. Chop it up, roll it out onto this, and you can see the size indicators on there. Very nice. Cook it on the fryer, and then store it on the Lefse's beautiful mat.
And what goes in here?
The worm. No worms.
The worm.
Okay, next we're going to add the flour onto the riced potatoes. You add approximately 2 cups, and you just sprinkle it on top, and then knead the flour into, go ahead Alex, knead the flour into the riced potatoes. And then next we are going to add some butter. Okay, so we're mixing the flour in. We have every once in a while where there's a big chunk. If you can come closer, you can see what it looks like. This big chunk won't roll very easily, so we just put it in a bowl, and since it's just flour and potatoes, then we can eat that later. It's real convenient using cookie sheets because you can lift up one of the 3 sections and then turn down and find all the clumps like we are here, and it should look basically like a piece of rice. Here's 2 good examples of just how nice it falls apart. Next we're going to be adding the butter and then the salt. I think we're going to need more butter.
Yeah.
Next we're going to be adding some butter. We're starting with 1/4 cup, and we're going to just add it onto the top on top of the rice. Now the rice should feel dry previous to putting the butter on. Okay, need room guys.
Okay, we're calling it rice, but what we mean is riced potatoes.
Riced potatoes.
Yep.
Then we're going to knead that back in and probably have to add more butter just to get it to the right feel. Well, my grandma, Girdle, used to just do a pinch of salt, so we're doing an approximate amount and then sprinkling it over the riced and buttered potatoes. And next we are going to transfer all of this over to the place where we make the worm. I'm going to do a small test on a group here and see if it actually comes out to the right consistency, and it does. So we can, Alex, will you dump one of these in there? Alright. And it just goes in. It's all pretty evenly mixed up. You don't have to be too gentle with them now because we're just gonna, go ahead Alex, we're just gonna push them into one solid, what we call a worm. Make sure that you clean your area in between, otherwise you're gonna wind up with kind of a mess. And the next thing about cleaning is when you put your items away, make sure that they are very clean and let them sit out and dry. Otherwise your Lefse turners can become wet and they possibly can mold. So preparation at the end of the day is just as important as in the beginning. Okay, Alex, grab it, pull it to the side and we're making what we call the worm, and this is a pretty big batch. We are going to have quite a bit of Lefse here. So we basically just put it together and then squeeze out the air so it winds up being in a worm shape. This was really well mixed, so it's going to be easy to make a worm out of this.
Okay, so we had a whole lot extra, and so we're just taking this extra piece and we're going to put it in the fridge until later when we're going to use it for another batch probably. This is what it should look like, size-wise.
Alright, so now we've got the worm, we got a taste test. So I'll just take a piece off of here. Everything is dependent on taste for this. I think that's pretty good.
It tastes right with the butter salt mixture. We can maybe use a little more flour, but that will come on the grill when we're rolling it out. Then, Rachel. Okay, that's about 2 pieces. There you go.
And this is the size that you should be getting.
Make it into a smooth ball before rolling.
Okay, before we do the whole thing cut up into this size, we are going to put it outside to cool it off. It's good to have the worm cool because then it will cool the butter down and make it roll easier.
Less sticky.
Even less sticky. All right, now it goes outside. Okay, one important thing about doing this is having many hands because it's a lot of cleaning in between each step. Here we have Eric doing dishes. Make sure that everything stays clean and then it will make a fast and easy time for all instead of one person doing it all. Okay, so we've got them kind of sectioned off, and the worms, some of them we made into little sections. Here in Wisconsin, it's nice and cool. We've got snow outside, so we're actually putting it outside to cool off. We have found that making the individual biscuit size pieces to roll actually helps it cool down. What we will do is leave this outside for about a half an hour, maybe 45 minutes. If you are not in Wisconsin or somewhere where it's cold, I advise you to put these into a refrigerator rather than leave them outside. And don't forget to cover them with a cloth. Rachel, can you just a regular cloth will do, just to keep them safe from critters.
Okay, we're going to start with preparing the board. We have a board that is wrapped in a pastry cloth, which works really well for rolling. Using bare wood tends to get sticky easier. But what we do is we take a little bit of flour over the board, and to prepare the board you want to rub it in so that it soaks through the layers. This particular board has writing on it, and you want the writing to be partially covered in flour. You don't want it to be, if it's too dark red showing through, you probably don't have enough flour. So that's the way we like to prepare it so that it won't stick. And then we take one of our discs, and you want to get a little bit of flour on both sides to start with. Not too much flour or they turn out like potato chips. So again, we want to just make sure that we have some flour on our board. And then we can start rolling from the center to the edge, not all the way across. do real light rolling, changing direction so that it stays relatively round.
So tell me about the roller.
Well, the roller has grooves in it. And when I can see that my dough is starting to lift up a little bit, that tells me it's time to flip it. The Lefse turner, I don't know if you can see, it tapers down to a really smooth edge. And it works really good for just getting under the dough and lift it, and then with your other hand, get some more flour down because we don't want it to stick. And then we're going to just take it and unroll it the opposite way. This side still has flour on it from the other one, so we don't need to put any new flour on. So again, I'm going to start at the center. And I can see that the dough is stretching each time. If it gets where it isn't stretching anymore, or if it seems to be getting a little sticky, then that's time to turn it. Okay, I turned it one more time. This should be the last one. It's going to get real thin. I can almost see the writing through the dough. That's how thin it is. Can you see it? I don't know if you can pick it up on the camera, but I know we're getting pretty thin when we can see through it.
So you're going about to the 14-inch edge on that one.
Yep, this particular one. But you just do it until it feels right and until it looks right. And you want it to be thin. To roll it and put it on the grill, we've got the grill set at about 450 degrees. It's just dry, you don't put any oil or anything on it. We take this and we lay it across the top and flip over just the edge like this, and then very carefully roll it very lightly. And then we can carry it over and unroll it onto the grill like that. And just let it cook till it bubbles. And while that's cooking, I'm going to go ahead and start another one. And Rachel will turn the dough when it's ready. And so we're going to kind of keep an eye on it. This is our first one, so we always have to kind of watch it and see how it goes for the first time.
Alright, flipping of the left side. The way you can tell when it's ready to be flipped is when it's starting to bubble. You can see that there are a couple of bubbles starting to form on here, so this one is perfectly ready to flip. Alright, so you get it underneath there, and you turn the stick sideways, lay it down, and roll it the rest of the way up. Nice and cooked on that side. Problem that is often confronted is, say you flip it and it gets folded over. Well, you don't want to fix that right away because it is still raw and it will hold a shape. If you try to move it, it'll tear open, and then you have ugly lefse, and no one likes that. Alright, now it's been about 2 minutes and it's starting to really bubble up, so it must be pretty good now. Alright, so peel back both of these layers, 1, 2, and this is to keep it warm.
It also keeps it from drying out when it's in the cloth.
And there you go.
Okay, then after that, we always wipe off the griddle or grill with a towel to get the flour off. And at about that time,
Ready for the next
the
one,
next
Eric?
one is ready.
Yep.
Okay, again, this one, I'm gonna flip this over and roll it.
Okay, for this one, we're going to purposely put it a little off of the edge. Oops, you can't do it up. See how it's off the edge here?
Oh, sorry.
Well, we'll make it off the edge here. You don't normally want to pull that back up because this edge right along here will tear. Actually,
still raw.
we have a very good batch, so you can get it back up on the top.
If it's sticky, let it cook a little before you try to move it and it won't tear.
Alright, and if you see the coloring on this, you see that there's slightly browned bubbles, and that is the absolute perfect. Alright, it's time to bubble up, so I'm going to take it off of here.
Lay it the opposite way.
Yep.
Because it will keep the corners nice. We'll square that off.
Eric, if you want to wipe that off.
So
I
then
got
the whole
another one
stack
ready.
keeps on going. Okay, so Alex is going to show you something new.
Alright. Going to take. Just going to flip this over, and I'm going to show you how to eat it. Because eating is what it's for. I'm just gonna lay it down on top of here, and it's very hot, so you might not want to hold it for too long. And the traditional way is to just put butter on it, like so. And it just melts on because it just got off of the cooker. So, the traditional way is to do just butter, and that's how our great-grandma Gertle and great-grandpa Hans used to do it. But some people like to do it with sugar or put ham on the inside too. It's pretty much good whatever you do with it.
How about Papa James Beckland? What would he say about the sugar?
He always said don't put sugar on it. And I used to do that all the time. I'd always get scolded.
So kind of in our family, and the newer generation basically treats this like a bread, but the more traditional way is with butter, and sometimes even a roll of ham is good in there, which we have for today. All right, is there anything else that we need to show?
I think that's pretty much the process.
Okay, well, thank you everybody for being part of this. This is the Becklands making of Lefse.